was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative is the truth of mass suffering, injustice and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truths. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Howdy, Jordan Sheridan, live from the United Corporations of America. This is Status Coup. And for those of you that have been missing my green screen, until that returns, we have a new background here at Status Coup. The flag of the United Corporations of America. Behind me, my big face is blocking, my big head is blocking half of that flag, but we have wonderful corporations in this country, telecom, fast food, big oil, right behind me. For those of you status quoers, the OG status quoers, you'll remember that when I was covering a protest of what seemed at the time of the Iran war, a new war we were going to launch, I interviewed a wonderful veteran who had draped over his shoulder this great flag. And we ordered it, my girlfriend and I, we ordered it weeks ago, and it finally arrived. And I am just tickled with joy, because I can't really think of a better backdrop. My green screen is broken, which sucks. So I have to order a new one. Because of the coronavirus, a lot of things are taking a while to get to me. So until I get my green screen back, is the United Corporations of America flag okay with you? If so, please smash that like button. It's a thumbs up button right under the live stream. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this very live stream. We got 300 people watching right now. Oh, somebody's a status Jew. Love you. L'chaim. Welcome to Status Coup. Make sure you press that like button. We got almost 300 people watching right now. 120 of you have pressed the like button. So I need another 100-something to press that like button. I will find the link. I'm already seeing people that want to purchase that flag. I will find the link so you could get that flag. Don't you worry. For those of you asking, Jen and I are about to pop a blood vessel. We were told that our big story that we've been teasing was going to publish this morning. We didn't hear from the outlet we're publishing the story with. We literally just heard from them 5 minutes ago. The story is still going out, thank God. But like many media outlets right now, you might not know this, a lot of media outlets right now, because of the coronavirus, are actually having to cut costs, lay people off, a lot of things. So the outlet that we're working with is having to make some changes because of the coronavirus, the drop in revenue. So the people that need to sign off on the story, the final sign off, are a little busy. That's all I can say. But the story's still going. I thought it was going to be today. I wish we controlled it. Once the story is out, you'll understand why we relied on a larger outlet. But we tell you what we're told. So we were told it was going to be out today. It's not out today, and we're waiting from the outlet, who just got back to me saying there's a bit of a holdup, not because the story's not going to go out, but because the higher executives there have been a little busy due to layoffs and some stuff over the last few days. Anyway, let's get to the business here. Again, make sure you press that like button. Follow us at Status Coup. We're live on Twitter right now. You could also follow us on Twitch. We're live there, twitch.tv/Status Coup. And join our email list, statuscoup.com. Enter your email. Very, very important. We need to grow our email list. And please, 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 we are not immune to the coronavirus. Fortunately, at this point, I'm healthy. Jen's healthy. Colin's healthy. But we have lost quite a few members because of people getting laid off, having to cut their memberships. We appreciate all the people that are messaging us. Hey, we love you, but I can't. Most people that have canceled have actually messaged us saying, I want to keep it, but I just have to cut costs right now. So we get it. I hope we could get some new member signups today. So before I get to Bernard Sanders, I got to get to a story that I think is perfectly emblematic of the flag behind me. And that is the disgraceful company called Amazon. Amazon, who is owned by the world's richest man, Jeff Bezos, who literally just bought a house, I think in Virginia or the DC area, with 25 bathrooms. Let me repeat that. 25 bathrooms. Oh, Colin just read the story, so he knows what's going on. Colin, our editor and graphics guy, he got a little sneak peek to the story. Amazon, who's making its workers work right now. No, Amazon is not essential services. Sorry. Making its workers work right now, saying, oh, if you don't feel safe, you could go home, but we're not going to pay you because the world's richest man can't afford paid sick leave. And by the way, this is a super chat. If you're feeling super like I am today, please show Status Coup the love. The economy is not doing so hot, and Status Coup needs your help and your funding. Let us have it. So there was a gentleman by the name of Christian Smalls, who I've already reached out to. Jen reached out to. We want to interview you, Christian, if you're watching, who's been tweeting up a storm. He works at Amazon, and he's been showing clips like this for days at Amazon. Let me show you one of them.
What's 6 feet rule? What's CDC protocol? What's CDC guidelines? Where that? You still doing the same shit. Damn table, man. I'm 6 feet. These tables 4 feet. Don't make sense.
Go to an RSA station. Go to a count. Go to a count station. Everywhere. Go to an RSA station. Go to a count station. Like, go to a tax station. Any tax station. Y'all want to really see?
This is what strength numbers. This is what strength numbers do. Yesterday I started out with 10. Today I got 50. Everybody's sitting down, it's off the clock, waiting on the GM to shut this building down. And it's going to happen. Somebody else tested positive today.
So sorry, basically those videos had some small subtitles, and Christian was basically showing that at that Amazon workspace in Staten Island, New York, that wasn't social distancing. People were sitting next to each other, on top of each other. Multiple people at Amazon have been tested positive for coronavirus. Thank you very much, Karen Webster, $2 in the super chat. Bezos needs 25 bathrooms for his hoarded TP. I don't really know what that means, but thanks for the super chat.
He has a million bathrooms in his home.
Yeah, I know that. So Christian, being a leader, said this is disastrous. By the way, not just for the workers at Amazon, but for the people that are opening packages from Amazon. You, me. By the way, welcome new Status Coup member, Steven. Woohoo!
Steven!
getting us started. We are now at 1,838 members. Can I get another couple before we get to the next topic? Sign up for as low as $5 a month. Welcome, Stephen. So, Christian was saying we're being forced to work. If we don't work, we don't get paid. Again, richest man in the world does not have paid sick leave. Some say, because I tweeted this out and some people got little triggered, I said, to the lazy among us, Amazon is not an essential service. I'm sorry. And there were some people who tweeted out, well, Jordan, I'm disabled and I need it. And Jordan, in rural areas, it's the only thing we can get. I understand. For some people, it is needed. So I wasn't trying to be insensitive. But for the majority, frankly, Amazon is not an essential service. More importantly, how is it that the man with the most money in the world cannot set up a system where you have enough space between workers, where you have ample amount of masks for your workers, of gloves for your workers? Frankly, Jeff Bezos could figure out a way to get shields for his workers. Jeff Bezos has more money than anyone in the world. He could snap his fingers and get masks for Amazon workers. He could snap his fingers and get gloves and shields, even gowns. And don't get me wrong, obviously nurses and doctors are priority. But that worker, Christian, who organized, by the way, a walkout at Amazon, is fighting for his life, his coworkers' lives, and your life. Because if you are opening that package, there's a reason they call this the novel coronavirus, because we don't exactly know completely how it works. And doctors and nurses and even the experts at the CDC are continually having to readjust. Remember, they told you weeks ago, actually, if you're healthy, wearing a mask won't actually protect you. If you're healthy and you don't feel symptoms, wearing a mask won't actually protect you. Well, now all of a sudden, weeks later, they're starting to revise that, and they might come out saying all Americans should wear masks. So it's not quite understood completely how this virus works. But what is understood is the virus lives on surfaces, for all we know, for 24 to 48 hours, possibly longer. So if somebody is sick working at Amazon because they don't have a choice, if they don't go home, they're not going to get paid because of the greed of Jeff Bezos that is allowed, by the way, by the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Somebody at Amazon could not be feeling well, touching your packages. Maybe they're wearing gloves. I don't know if the gloves they're wearing are enough for that not to be transmitted into the packaging that they're sending to you or me. And you could be opening that package. Hopefully you're opening it with gloves or something like that. And it could be transmitted to you. We don't fully know how this works. But Jeff Bezos, he's not offering double pay for workers that are risking their lives at Amazon. He's not offering paid sick leave if you don't feel safe. Nothing. Not just that. Thank you for the $27, Michael Armour. My dreams of guillotines are becoming more likely by the day. I say this as an advocate for universal health care. My whole life since seeing the ER every day, growing up with a nurse mom, and I'm asthmatic with hypertension. Thank you for the $27, and we're going to get to Medicare for all in a little bit because Joe Biden is on my last fucking nerves. And frankly, Bernie, it's time. I've had enough, Bernie. And we're going to get to you, Bernie, in a little bit. And excuse my French, I just demonetized myself, so hook us up in the swear jar. So, and by the way, Anat, my lovely woman, a lot of people are asking for the link because they want to buy the flag.
Okay.
So if you can get me that, we'll drop it in. So, Christian organizes a walkout of Amazon workers. And what does Amazon do? They fired his ass. Amazon has terminated an employee based in the company's Staten Island, New York warehouse after he participated in a worker walkout protesting the company's response to the novel coronavirus. Amazon confirmed the firing, blah, 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 blah. Quote, Mr. Smalls was found to have had close contact with diagnosed associate with a diagnosed associate with a confirmed case of COVID-19 and was asked to remain home with pay for 14 days, which is a measure we're taking at sites around the world, said a spokesperson. Despite that instruction to stay home with pay, he came on site today, March 30th, putting the team at risk. And welcome new Status Coup member, Michael. Wow. 1,839 members. Let's keep it coming. Sign up. statuscoup.com/join. As low as $5 a month, which actually comes down to 16 cents a day. I hope you guys could afford that. Keep us strong and independent. So let me get something straight here. Okay? Amazon is saying they fired this worker who organized a walkout because Amazon is not enforcing actual social distancing. I just showed you the clips from his Twitter. Do you see people social distancing at Amazon? Hold on. Let me zoom in here so you could see it. Does that look like social distancing to you? People are sitting right next to each other at Amazon. So, do you think if this guy was actually offered paid sick leave because he was exposed to someone who tested positive, do you really think if he was offered paid sick leave, he'd be organizing a walkout? I don't think so. I want the receipts that Amazon offered Christian, as they say, 14 days of pay because he was in contact with someone with COVID-19. But putting that aside, this notion that they're putting in place protocols, quote unquote, he had close contact with a diagnosed associate with confirmed cases of COVID-19. Amazon is literally that bullshit statement, because frankly, it's probably bullshit. Again, we've already reached out to Christian to try and interview him. We'll see if he gets back to us. You don't have to. And Jeff Bezos is pretty rich. I think he could get government health officials on the phone. You're not protecting your workers by simply sending workers home that were in contact with someone who tested positive. Because as we know, you could have dozens of workers right next to you. If you're an Amazon worker, you could have dozens of workers right next to you all day that have no symptoms, that have not been tested, that do have coronavirus. I'll give you an example. Chris Cuomo, the anchor on CNN, and I give him a lot of shit. I don't think he's a tough journalist, but I don't wish him poor health. He tested positive for coronavirus. He wasn't showing symptoms. He started feeling poorly like 2 days ago. He still did his show. He got a positive result this morning. But he was doing his show for quite some time without symptoms. He might have had it then. So Amazon's standard that they're keeping their workers safe, they're only sending home workers if there's somebody who's tested positive, is insanity. You don't know who is positive and who's not because you could have the walking sick there who aren't feeling it yet. And because, as we already know through wonderful reporting over the years, Michael Sonato and other people, Amazon's working conditions are already horrific. So do you think Amazon is taking the proper protocols to make sure their workers at Staten Island and elsewhere are 6 feet away from each other? Get the fuck out of here. So they fired this worker with this complete bullshit reason that he was sent home with pay. The firing follows the protest partly organized by Smalls, who had called on Amazon to shut down the Staten Island facility for deep cleaning after multiple cases of the coronavirus emerged there. In an interview on Sunday, Smalls told CNN he had spent the past week trying to persuade senior warehouse officials to close the building and sterilize it, but to no avail. By the way, Staten Island in New York City is the epicenter of the coronavirus in America. New York State has over 1,500 deaths. United States has had over 3,000 deaths. So New York has over half of the deaths here in the United Corporations of America. But this Staten Island facility was kept open, apparently was not having daily deep cleanings. From what I could tell from those videos, they don't have any stringent protocols to keep workers a safe distance. And how can you have surefire protocols to keep workers away from each other and a safe distance when they're packaging all day? Obviously, you're going to be passing workers. Frankly, Seth Peterson, $60. The community is growing. Thanks to Status Coup's reporting, people are seeing how corrupt and dangerous MSM and the establishment is. Let's bring the fight to these greedy assholes. Seth, from your lips, if there's a God's. What did they say? From your lips to my...
From your lips to God's ears.
From your lips to God's ears. So, and by the way, we got 600 people watching. I need another 250 of you. I need another 250 of you. Please press that like button. Please press that like button. It's a thumbs up button right under the live stream. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this live stream. YouTube is squeezing us once again. So we have not been seen as much as we normally are. So keep pressing that like button. Please, please, please. So this comes, they fired this guy, by the way, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, who I think is a schmuck. On most things, he has called for an investigation. The Attorney General of New York has called for an investigation into Amazon. And if Congress wasn't so corrupt, I think they should bring Jeff Bezos in for congressional testimony to explain why is it that the richest person in the world, you, Jeff Bezos, does not offer paid sick leave for all employees? Why is it that you, Jeff Bezos, are not offering your workers hazard pay and double pay for risking their lives to come in and work in Amazon? Why is it you, Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, Amazon is $1 trillion company, do not have protocols at your warehouses to keep workers a safe distance from each other? Can anyone answer this to me? Why they did this, why they fired this guy, is because they want to nip protest in the butt. They want to nip protest in the butt, so they're making a point by firing Christian Smalls. But if we sit here quietly and just accept the intimidation, the suppression, and the immoral behavior of Amazon in trying to crush the proletariat, then we're never going to get any change. I think Amazon needs a national walkout, not just over coronavirus, but over the working conditions, over their pay. Yes, $15 minimum wage they got, but they don't have a lot else. And frankly, Congress needs to look into Jeff Bezos' tax dodging and other awful things he's been doing to his workers. But that's not going to happen because Jeff Bezos owns the Republicans and he owns the Democrats. And literally owns the Washington Post. So Jen and I will continue trying to get in touch with Christian. I know he gave a quote to the New York Daily News, among others. This is an awful, awful thing. And frankly, I know my friend Jimmy Dore has talked about it, and I agree. As far as I know, rent's not canceled tomorrow here in New York. Is it canceled by you?
Maybe that's an April Fool's joke.
Oh, maybe it's an April Fool's joke. Rent's not canceled tomorrow, but millions of people are losing their jobs. Millions of people are losing their health care. Rent's not canceled. The crumbs that Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell are sending your way, that $1,200, it ain't coming by tomorrow. Oh, by the way, $1,200 is getting taxed. So you're not getting $1,200. You're getting taxed on that $1,200. Thank you very much. The unemployment benefits, if you could get your local unemployment office to get you on quickly, you're not getting those tomorrow to pay rent. So what are you supposed to do? President Trump has called for a freeze on evictions. Yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. I think we're pretty close. I know we can't get out in the streets and do this right now for health reasons. Frankly, I think we're pretty close to the yellow vest moment here in America. I think we're pretty close to the yellow vest movement because I am mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. You cannot, as a government, fall asleep at the switch. Yes, Donald Trump is the reason that we were not prepared for this. He should have prepared for this in January when health experts were telling him and warning him coronavirus is coming to the United States. And the Republican Party and the Democrats just gave you a shit sandwich masqueraded as relief. But people tomorrow are going to start getting hassled by their landlords, by their mortgage companies. So there's been a temporary halt on student loans. That's good. But this is unacceptable. Unacceptable. And I just want to tell you a little bit more about this shit sandwich. This is from Dave Dayan at the Prospect, American Prospect. This is the $1,200. It's touted that everyone's going to get $1,200 in the mail, but it's means tested. So it's really every American earning $75,000 or less phasing out at $100,000. But it's also means tested in the worst possible way based on IRS data from 2018. So 3.283 million Americans filed jobless claims last week. Did some of them make $100,000 a year in 2018? It's certainly possible. They're going to get nothing from this provision. Means testing is stupid under normal conditions. Means testing based on 2-year-old data is insane. Meanwhile, we'll be lucky if the people who need this money the most will still be at the address where the check will be mailed, since it's based on 2018. If you have direct deposit on file with the IRS, about 70 million Americans do, you'll get that money within a few weeks. If you don't, the check will be mailed and it will take up to 4 months. This is what's being presented as relief. The unemployment, this benefit will be run through state unemployment insurance systems, a creaky patchwork of varying quality that is mostly unprepared for the crush of claims. Systems in 22 states aren't ready for a recession level of unemployment claims, the Wall Street Journal reports, which is astonishing since we've had a decade of job growth. Many states never replenished the trust funds after the Great Recession. That could be handled with federal dollars. The bigger problem is the throughput of these underfunded systems. Check out any local news site and you'll find stories about systems being overwhelmed, people getting kicked off the online portal, on hold with the call center, having to fill online applications 15 times. So, good luck getting that unemployment in time for your rent and other expenses. Small business grants, I'll get to that another time. And we already know about the corporate slush fund. That is anywhere between 4.5, some people say $6 trillion. Un-effing believable. And keep smashing that like button. We got almost 700 people watching. 467 of you have pressed that like button. It's a thumbs up button right under the live stream. The more people that press like, the more people that will see this live stream. Welcome new Status Coup member, Mark. Woohoo! We are now at 1,840 Status Coup members. Can we get another 10 to get back to 1,850? We were at 1,865, but then we started having an onslaught of cancellations because, frankly, our viewers are the working people of America, and they're getting fired. So they have to cut corners, and I understand if you've had to cancel your membership. I greatly, Jen and I have gotten such nice emails from people saying, oh my God, it pains me to do this, but I have to cancel my membership. We totally get it. If you can't afford it right now, you can't afford it. Just keep on watching and we'll do our best to inform you. So, the last thing I'll say is as Amazon and Jeff Bezos are firing workers who try to organize against their immoral, unethical, and frankly, I think illegal behavior, don't forget, they started a fund. They threw in $25 million, which basically Jeff Bezos shits out before breakfast, $25 million. an Amazon relief fund was created for employees, for relief for them during the coronavirus. Amazon chipped in $25 million, and they're asking you for the rest. Yes, they're asking for donations. Ask public to donate to Amazon Relief Fund. Wow. You remember Paul Ryan, who used to talk about the takers? Ronald Reagan and the welfare queens. Nancy Pelosi says, no, we're capitalists. We just are. How in the world is this acceptable that this rich, greedy scumbag, who, by the way, has co-opted and bought off local officials in Seattle, has bought off Washington State representatives so that he doesn't have to pay any new taxes. In Seattle, which we went to Seattle last year, we interviewed Shama Sawant in addition to others. Seattle was going to pass a very modest head tax, $250 an employee at companies like Amazon and Boeing, to go towards affordable housing, since there's a massive homelessness crisis in cities like Seattle because of the raging rent increases. Seattle's rent went up 70% in 5 years because of Jeff Bezos and the gentrification there. You know what Jeff Bezos did? He kicked and he screamed and he threatened to move Amazon out of Seattle if you put that tax through, and the city council caved. So at some point, maybe not now because everybody's focused on coronavirus, at some point, Jeff Bezos is the new Wall Street. You think we needed an Occupy Wall Street back in 2011? I agree. We need an Occupy Amazon at this point. I'm not blaming the workers, but Amazon is the tip of the iceberg, and this kind of corporate welfare, this kind of corporate malfeasance, this kind of corporate treachery, frankly, this kind of corporate terrorism, yeah, I said it, terrorism, is unacceptable in a country that claims to be the richest country in the world. It's the richest country in the world for Jeff Bezos. It ain't the richest country in the world for you or for me. I digress. Keep signing up. We're at 1,840 members. We're at almost 700 live viewers, so keep on keeping on. We got 519 of you have pressed that like button. I want to move on here, and again, we're going to keep reaching out to Christian to try and get him on. I want to move to Bernie Sanders here. I've been criticizing Bernie the last few days. Still love him, but, if you're looking for Bernie headquarters who's never going to criticize him and has his head up his ass, that's not me. But Bernie went on Seth Meyers last night. Seth asked him, what are you doing? Are you in? Are you out? Can you still win? Let's look at what Bernie Sanders had to say.
Which is, I think, a question a lot of people in the Democratic Party are asking. Do you still see a path to the nomination? Obviously, you're behind the delegates. It looks like a very hard path. And if not, why are you remaining in the race?
Well, we're about 300 delegates behind. Biden has 1,200. We have 900. There is a path. It is admittedly a narrow path. But I would tell you, Seth, that there are a lot of people who are supporting me. We have a strong grassroots movement who believe that we have got to stay in order to continue the fight, to make the world know that we need Medicare for all, that we need to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, that we need paid family and medical leave, one of the crises that we're dealing with right now, that we must address climate change and education, all the issues that we have been talking about. Campaigns are an important way to maintain that fight and raise public consciousness on those issues. So that's, I think, one of the arguments for going forward.
And do you feel as though you've had a slight leg up in the way you've had to campaign in this digital age with your early work as a public access?
I think that Bernie Sanders is 78 years old, right? So whatever decisions he has made on how he wants to do things, it's probably not going to change. It's probably not going to change at 78 years old. Thank you for the super chat, Progressive Martian, $5. Amazon got money from our bailout. Part of getting money was not letting people go, so airlines announced layoffs in 60 days. Come on, man. Come on, Progressive Martian. Is that your name, Progressive Martian? You actually believe that these bailout strings attached are actually going to be enforced? Come on. You know better than that. So, Bernie Sanders says he has a path. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think he's going to win the nomination. However, I do agree, technically, he has a path. But riddle me this, Bernie. How do you win if you are no longer competing against the person beating you? How do you have a path if you are no longer making an argument against the other candidate? We could get into whether he's been too weak against Biden, which he has. You haven't said anything about Joe Biden in 2 weeks. Maybe people around you are saying now's not the time to go political. People are dying. Now's not the time to go against Joe Biden. I don't know when the time would be. You're down 300 delegates. By the way, we do have a report coming out, hopefully tomorrow. We're working with some technical issues. Tina Desiree Berg out of California, she's a freelance journalist who did a report for us on the California primary, voter suppression. She's going to have a report on the exit poll discrepancies a lot of you have been asking about. So she's doing that special for Status Coup, and we're hopefully going to have that tomorrow. But stick to the point, Jordan. Hey, DXR, I'll get to my point when I feel like it. Chill out. So you're not actually saying anything against Joe Biden at a time when Joe Biden is giving you opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to plant a seed of doubt in the remaining voters who have not voted yet. I think it's extremely, extremely unlikely that Bernie could win. He's down significantly. However, the only chance you have to win is to change the minds of people that have not yet voted in New York, in Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, in name the states that haven't voted. There's a lot of them. Over half the country has not voted. That Joe Biden is not up to the task. You don't have to say he's cognitively declining, but you can point out that he's not up to the task. All you need to do is show the video of Joe Biden.
And in order to avoid those very high numbers, we have to do at least several things. One, we have to depend on what the president. In order to avoid those very high numbers, we have to do at least several things. One, we have to depend on what the president's going to do right now. And first of all, he has to wait till the cases before anything happens. Look, the whole idea is he's got to get in place things that were shortages of. And in order to avoid those very high numbers, we have to do at least several things. One, we have to depend on what the president's going to do right now. And first of all, he has to wait till the cases before anything happens. Look, the whole idea is he's got to get in place things that were shortages of.
You call it what you want. The guy's having a brain aneurysm on a daily basis. And you are not going at this guy? The guy, as millions of people are losing their health care right now. Millions of people are going to lose their health care tomorrow. Because most people, when you get laid off from your job, you keep your health care through the end of the month. Tomorrow's April 1st. Not an April Fool's joke. Millions of people are losing their health care tomorrow. Joe Biden, when asked about it yesterday, says, nah, single payer wouldn't help anything through this pandemic. Bernie Sanders hasn't said a word. Hasn't said a word. When it's like manna from heaven This is the time. This is the moment. Not only to make the case for Medicare for all, but to make the case that this man, your opponent, Joe Biden, is willing to leave you without health care and willing to leave you to die if you get sick. He's saying, no, I'm still not going to. I would still not pass Medicare for all, even though this coronavirus pandemic is exposing the total inadequacy, the total immoral basis of our for-profit healthcare. The fact that you do not have a safety net in this country. You do not have a safety net in this country. If you get laid off, if you lose your job, if there's a health crisis where there's mass layoffs like we're experiencing right now, if and when, not if, but when the inferno comes your way, the inferno, climate crisis comes your way, and companies have to shut down just like right now, you're going to lose your health care then too. He's got opportunity after opportunity after opportunity right now to go at Joe Biden, and he's not taking any of it. There's a couple theories. One, he doesn't want to be looked at as negative. He doesn't want to be attacked for playing politics during a crisis. Which to that, I say, Bernie, they're going to attack you no matter what you do. You waking up in the morning, you're going to get attacked by the establishment. Whether you stay quiet and you don't attack Joe Biden or whether you go scorched earth. Thank you for the super chat. Tanya H, €5. In let's help our media get through these troubled times. Become a member. It's great. Thank you so much, Tanya. Yes, become a member. Statuscoup.com/join. You could sign up for as low as $5 a month, which is 16 cents a day. That's 16 cents a day to support independent journalism. Thank you, Tanya. Delphini, can't pronounce your last name, €5. Organized to be ready on day one when the strike is going to be possible. Please, Americans, wake up. You need to fight back for the entire world to change. I totally agree with you. So, as Bernie does this, if you're not going to go against Joe Biden, then you should drop out, frankly. Because Joe Biden is giving you every single opportunity. He's basically begging you to go at him. He's begging you. And by the way, right now, this is from Politico. Workers of Amy Klobuchar, of Pete Buttigieg, who were ranting against Medicare for all, well, because of the coronavirus pandemic, they're without health care because they can't get a job in politics. This is from Politico. Take Wyatt Ronan. He was the New Hampshire communications director for Beto O'Rourke, and then he was the New Hampshire state director for Deval Patrick. And in the wake of the state's primary, he was planning on moving to Washington to look for work, but it didn't happen. He's still in New Hampshire, sharing an apartment in Manchester, counting down the days remaining on the health care plan he had from the Patrick campaign. Health insurance, that's the scariest issue, more so than ever the work or a job. A former Bloomberg staffer. We know that Bloomberg screwed all his workers, told them they were going to have a job with health care through November, and then got laid them off because he's Michael Bloomberg, and what does he fucking care? Honestly, that's probably the biggest thing, said Anjan Mukherjee, who is Klobuchar's research director, referring to what he's hearing from more junior staffers from the campaign. Where will I get my health care? The article also referenced some workers for Pete Buttigieg. You know, he said, how dare you, Bernie Sanders, try to rip health care out of the hands of the 160 million Americans who just love their health care so much. Well, right now, a lot of the workers for those empty shells, Buttigieg, Klobuchar, Bloomberg, they don't have any health care. What do you know? Right now is the best, largest opportunity for Bernie Sanders to make the case for Medicare for all, but also to make the case that Joe Biden is not for you. Joe Biden is willing to let you die. I'm not being dramatic. People die without health care in America all the time. Right now, Joe Biden is saying if I was president and millions of people were laid off during a health crisis that we do not know how long it's going to go, Anthony Fauci, the doctor that Trump has been using, the lead of the coronavirus task force, has said this could even come back in the fall. It might subside in a few weeks, but it could come back in the fall. Joe Biden is saying to all of America, if I was president and those people get fired because during a pandemic, no, you're not going to have universal health care. It's going to be through your employer. Okay, so what are you going to do for those workers who lose their jobs? Well, blah, blah, blah. I can't construct a complete sentence. So for those of you who don't like me criticizing Bernie, I'm sorry. I'm a big fan of Bernie Sanders, but if you're not going to go at Joe Biden, step aside. We don't need you just to make the case for Medicare for all. We need you to make the case against Joe Biden. And if this moment, that everything you have been screaming about for 5 to 7 years, you now have an audience beyond progressives. You have older people who might be more inclined to vote for Joe Biden in Wisconsin, in New York, in Pennsylvania, in the states that haven't voted, that are directly being affected by coronavirus and the pandemic. They might be thinking, wait a minute, why isn't there paid sick leave? They might be thinking, wait a minute, am I going to have my Social Security? Many of them still work. They're getting laid off. What about food and Meals on Wheels and SNAP programs that they rely on? They're all waiting for someone to take the mantle of leadership, and Joe Biden is not doing it. And frankly, because Bernie and Jane's reports say they happen to like the Bidens, and Biden was nice to him in the Senate, he refuses to go at him. Well, Bernie, I don't know what you need to go at him, but frankly, if you're staying in to keep pushing the message and get a more progressive platform, he wanted to stay in to make the Democratic platform more progressive, do us a favor and drop out. Because that progressive platform, they could put on that platform anything. If Joe Biden is elected, he's going to take that platform and he's going to wipe his ass with it, just like Hillary Clinton did. So I hope somebody lights a fire under his anus. I really do.
Oh my God, what a vision.
And by the way, I just want to turn, speaking of Amazon and their treachery, Jennifer Rubin at the Washington Post? Oh, goodness, I don't want to get my blood pressure up. Jennifer Rubin, who honestly is she's the Bernie slayer. I think I've read at least 100 columns from Jennifer Rubin this campaign, anti-Bernie columns. She headlines this, "The Benefit of the Democrats Denouncing Sanders' Selfishness." She's a warmonger, too, who helped push us into Iraq, but that's a whole different story. So she's coming up with this gem. The problem, according to many Democrats, remains that 15% of Sanders supporters say in polling that they would vote for President Trump over Biden. This nugget actually makes the opposite argument. There is nothing that would satisfy some faction of the Sanders coalition that would rather blow up our democracy and re-elect Trump. With people so irrational, those fucking people who want health care and sick leave and a roof over their head, those fucking irrational fucking rats. With people so irrational, the best response is to ignore them. They, like the MAGA hat crowd, are unreachable and cannot be bargained with. More new Green Deal talk. Oh, God. As she probably swigs that Chardonnay and caviar. So don't try. No more outreach to Sanders. No more promised policy modifications. No more speaking slots at the convention. Enough. Enough, Jennifer Rubin writes. But that's not all. She's got really, really crack political advice. It would make perfectly clear that Biden is not Sanders and not a crazy left-winger, as Trump would like to paint him in the campaign. Biden makes a sharp distinction between the Democratic Socialist crowd and his own brand of center-left politics. Since he can't get the 15% of Bernie or bust Democrats, or independents, he might as well make a strong play for moderate independents and disaffected Republicans. Cutting Sanders off effectively allows Biden to pitch to gettable swing voters, not waste time on unattainable Bernie bros. Oh, God. God, I can't take any more of this. I just can't take any more. I can't take any more. And yes, I've demonetized ourselves at least 75 times today, so super chat. And if you're not a member, 16 cents a day. We're now at 1,840 members. Would love to get more signups. Statuscoup.com/join. Hey, Jennifer Rubin, you probably get paid a lot to be wrong on most things. Let me show you Chuck Schumer. Remember Chuck in 2016? For every blue-collar Democrat we lose in Western Pennsylvania, we'll pick up 2 moderate Republicans in the suburbs of Philadelphia. And you could repeat that in Ohio and Illinois and Wisconsin. This was the Democratic Party's strategy in 2016. Oh, no, we're not going to actually provide or offer progressives anything real. No. That would involve giving up the money train. That would involve stopping to take the money from Wall Street, from the fossil fuckers, from big real estate, big pharma, Silicon Valley. No, we're not doing that. So if we have to lose, hey, if we lose a blue-collar worker in Western Pennsylvania, there's plenty of, quote, moderate Republicans in the suburbs of Philadelphia that will make up for it. 2-1, Chuck Schumer said. And repeat that in Ohio, and Illinois, and Wisconsin. Anat, when's President Hillary Clinton's press conference today? When's President Hillary Clinton's press conference? Oh, so now the intellectual bourgeoisie is telling us, let's just don't bother with the progressives. The most growing voting bloc in America. By the way, a lot of those progressives are Latinos. Let's try and court the moderate Republicans. And by the way, it wasn't only Chuck Schumer. Hillary Clinton was targeting Republicans turned off by Donald Trump. That's part of why she picked Tim Kaine as her vice president. Miss Clinton's campaign is repositioning itself after a year of emphasizing liberal positions. Repositioning is a different term. It's a synonym for selling out and moonwalking. Not that anyone believed her liberal positions in the first place. So she tried to appeal to independents and Republican-leaning white voters. Unfortunately, these political geniuses, who apparently are paid to lose, don't realize there's no longer a thing. Moderate Republicans don't exist anymore. You know what a moderate Republican is? The mainstream Democratic Party. That's who the moderate Republicans are. Democrats, for the most part. So what they think is a moderate Republican that's going to come vote for Joe Biden, they don't exist. The moderate Republicans are the Democrats. What used to be moderate Republicans are now batshit crazy, extremist MAGA people. But the truly crazy thing about this, what's going to happen, Joe Biden's probably going to pick, my money's on Kamala Harris, maybe Amy Klobuchar, which is basically a fuck you to the progressives. He's going to perform awfully in the general election debates. That is, if he makes it. Thank you, Jen A, $9.99 in the super chat. Thank you, Jordan, Jen, and Anat for being here. Your realness is a fresher breath of air. Haha. You're where I get my news. God bless you. Love you. Sirius, 1976, $5. I will not choose between two evils. They want my vote. Earn it. I agree. Did I miss any? Okay. So what's happening here is they are in real time picking the wrong strategy. When it blows up in their face, because Trump is just foaming at the mouth to start running ads against Joe Biden. Sleepy Joe. Wouldn't surprise me if you start hearing Dementia Joe. I'm not kidding. Trump does not care. He'll call him Dementia Joe. Starts running ads of Joe Biden sniffing young children's hair, talking about children rubbing his hairy legs. Now there's a woman, Tara Reid, accusing him of sexual assault. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's false. All I know is it's despicable that the media isn't really covering it. She deserves to be heard, and Joe Biden maybe should be asked about it. He's been interviewed on MSNBC, on CNN, not asked about it. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. I was smeared once. I don't just believe women no matter what. I want to know the facts. But if you're the Democratic frontrunner, shouldn't you be asked about a woman claiming that you forced yourself upon her, pushed her against the wall, and penetrated her with your finger? I think you should be asked about that. So far, he has not. But Donald Trump is certainly going to bring it up. Donald Trump is certainly going to bring up his cognitive state. Donald Trump is certainly going to bring up his fakakta stories about being jailed in apartheid South Africa. So get ready. They're already blaming. And shamefully enough, not only are they blaming the Bernie people for Joe Biden's lack of enthusiasm, 24% of voters polled that say they'll vote for Joe Biden are strongly enthusiastic about voting for Joe Biden. That's the lowest rate in 20 years. Not only that, but now they're trying to shame Bernie Sanders' press secretary and put her out of work for the rest of her career. Did you see this? This is Bernie Sanders' press secretary, Brianna Joy Gray. She tweeted, I thought, fairly innocently, Senator Kamala Harris had tweeted, testing for coronavirus and treatment needs to be free, period. So Brianna said, this is a good start, but is it okay to die from cancer or diabetes because you're poor? Oh my God, the establishment has gone batshit crazy at Brianna today. Crazy over this. Bakari Sellers, who's a sellout, CNN commentator, this is toxic. She's been part of the problem, he says towards Brianna Greyjoy. Then someone I don't know says we've both been in politics long enough to know that this person is putting herself in a very bad position for future opportunities. I hope she knows exactly what she's doing, because making unnecessary enemies is a fool's errand. I don't know. That sounds like a threat to me. That sounds like you're not getting invited to the DNC Christmas party in the next 30 years. Oh, you're not getting a job after the revolution with Bernie. And Bakari Sellers responds, this is like Game of Thrones, like the North remembers. Oh, we remember. Bakari Sellers says, we'll remember. Just fucking disgusting. I don't think Brianna Greyjoy is going to have any problem getting a job. So Bernie, I will end with, now is the moment, Bernie. Whether you win, whether you lose, at this point, if you're going to lose going down fighting. Because right now, I love the live streams. I think you've led on coronavirus. But the movement needs you to fight. And part of that fight is against the stuttering, stumbling, not all there with it, servant of the special interests in Joe Biden. You want to have a friend, Bernie? You and Jane will have plenty of friends when you retire in Burlington by the lake house. You got plenty of friends, Bernie. Joe Biden right now does not need to be your friend. Moving on. By the way, 750 live viewers. Keep pressing that like button. Keep it coming in the super chat. And I'm pretty sure of the 750 people watching right now, there's a healthy number of you who are not Status Coup members. If I need to remind you, just as a reminder, this is why we need you to sign up as a member.
This won't win in Michigan and Wisconsin.
Let's back up a little bit. They keep calling him a socialist. Let's talk about party affiliation here really quick before I cap off here.
Preach.
Mike Bloomberg was a Republican mayor who supported George Bush, spoke at the RNC, was one of their keynote speakers, supported the war. Now he's a Democrat running for president.
Because he can beat Trump.
So basically, like, you'd rather have Trump, well, not rather, but you deal with Trump for another 4 years rather than a leftist candidate.
Yes. Yeah, I would.
But yeah, I heard about that. I'm aware of that, but...
Because you mentioned trust, so he's kind of made up some things. He said he participated in civil rights sit-ins, that he was an active participant, but journalists have shown that wasn't true.
Maybe he learned enough from his mistake in the past.
Who's got less black support at this point than Donald Trump had in 2016. What does that say to you?
That black people are expendable. And this is something I've been saying about the Democratic Party for a very long time. They call black women the firewall, or black women the backbone, then black people are a firewall. But when it really comes to making sure the requisite investments are there, making sure that you stand up and stand firm for the African American community, other people of color, they're not there.
Better to have Trump than Bernie. That's exactly what she said. She didn't say it in those words, but that's what Biden said when he said he didn't know if he could commit to endorsing Bernie, and on and on and on. And that's why another whole segment of the Democratic Party hack establishment is backing Bloomberg.
So what have you actually accomplished?
Right, and compare that to Bernie, who has accomplished so much, has always been on the right side of history. You got this guy, Pete, who has a paper-thin record, like you just said. And, I wish the media would hold him accountable, but they won't because he's their chosen one. If it's not Buttigieg, it's going to be Bloomberg. They're picking someone that aligns with their interests and their values, and anyone but Bernie is in full effect.
You got to support our independent media.
How much can people join for?
$5, as low as $5 a month, all right? $5 a month, people, all right? Please make it happen, all right? statuscoup.com/join. Do it now. Do it now. Don't wait. Do it now.
Brings joy to my eyes every time. Sign up. Status Coup. Oh, just got a new one. Welcome, new member, Austin. Love you, Austin. We are now at 1,841 members. Keep signing up. I know it's tough times for everybody. If you got $5 a month, that's 16 cents a day. Sign up, because once we get the green light, once it's safe to travel again, we will be back out there. You better believe it. So I want to end tonight, and I'm going to have some things to talk about tomorrow with Trump. I don't want to be all Democrats all the time, because Trump, honestly, putting aside that Trump and his recklessness is the reason for this awful response, he's also doing things that are blatantly illegal that no one's talking about. But we'll get to that tomorrow. I want to get to this fantasy, and Anat, you and I have been talking about this for a while. I want to talk about the fantasy that is New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is somehow like the new champion of the resistance. And New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is somehow like filling the leadership vacuum here because he can construct full sentences, unlike Joe Biden, because he talks competently, because optically he sounds like a leader every day during his press conferences. Kush Renata, $5 in the super chat. Bernie, Jane, your friendship with the Bidens, people are dying. The people need a fighter willing to go scorched earth on Dems, not herd them back in. I agree. I know Bernie watches. Carl Knight, $10. Thanks for your great work, Jordan. It's nice to feel like we're a family here, especially nowadays. We're always a family. Donald Smead, do you sell the flag? I do not sell the flag, but Anat will not put it in the super chat. We'll put it in again. We just bought the flag, and I love it. Love this flag. And I will wear it proudly until the day I die. So, Andrew Cuomo, I'm not saying Andrew Cuomo is responsible for all 1,500 deaths in New York. That would be a reckless statement. Of course, that's not true. But Andrew Cuomo, and a lot of you don't like that I have called for this. Andrew Cuomo should have called for a quarantine in New York State 2 weeks ago. My girlfriend and I were talking about it 2 weeks ago. New York State, and New York City in particular, has a very, very high percentage of people who travel from other countries into the city, in New York. I'm not trying to be anti-Chinese right now. I love Asian people, but the bottom line is New York City has a lot of Asian people, and a lot of them go to and from China quite frequently. So New York City, between Asian people, we have a lot of people from Europe, a lot of people from all around the world are here in New York City. So the coronavirus, this state and this city, you can't trace. You know, they say contact tracing. There's no way to trace who has it in New York City, who has it in New York State. But Governor Cuomo, when he was called on, and by the way, just so you know the numbers here, over 75,000 cases have been identified in New York. When a cluster of coronavirus cases was first reported in the New York City suburb of New Rochelle, which, by the way, my older brother, his wife, their 2 children live right there where that cluster is. They were in the heart of this. They have been under quarantine for a month now, I think. Local and state officials raced to contain the outbreak. The National Guard was deployed. Drive-through testing began. Epidemiologists attempted to find contacts of the first patients. Okay, so over 75,000 cases in New York. Over 1,500 people have died in New York, and that number is going up rapidly. But when people asked Governor Cuomo about quarantining, he said absolutely not. That would be a, quote, federal declaration of war, he called it. It would be chaos and mayhem to do that. It's totally opposite everything he's been saying. I don't think it's plausible. I don't think it's legal. A lockdown is what they did in Wuhan, China. We're not in China, and we're not in Wuhan. I believe it would be illegal. As a governor, I'm not going to close off my borders, he added. I'm not going to get into the legality because I'm not a lawyer. I don't think it's illegal. But the bottom line is this. I understand people who are very afraid of big government, of tyranny, believe that would be an encroachment of civil liberties, all that. Okay, well, there's body bags piling up 10 blocks from me right now. There's a hospital 10 blocks from me right now with body bags piling up. They are piling up all over this city. On Long Island, where my parents live, people are dying. Upstate New York, Westchester County, people are dying. Meanwhile, because he hasn't issued a quarantine, stupidity like this is going on. Guidance, if you guide people to do something in a city with, how many people live in New York City? 8 million? This is people not social distancing, packed like sardines, waiting for the ship that Trump was sending into New York Harbor, which is going to be a makeshift hospital. Because the hospitals here are being overrun. And guess what? People watching as that ship come in might end up in that hospital. Because this governor has not issued, yes, it would be burdensome. But what is more chaotic? 2 weeks where you can't leave your home? Or emergency rooms that look like war zones? Body bags piling up. Nurses with garbage bags wrapped around them because they don't have the proper equipment. Hospitals being overrun. Medical equipment's running out. This governor had the opportunity to lead 10 to 14 days ago, issue a quarantine of New York State. I think the New York City mayor, Bill de Blasio, has been behind this too, but he said he was thinking of doing a quarantine in New York City, and the governor said he would not allow it. Well, because you think it's illegal? Trust me, if you live in New York and you know New York politics, many of Andrew Cuomo's top aides have been arrested on corruption. He's not exactly a bastion for legality. He's no angel, Governor Cuomo, even though MSNBC and CNN and the New York Times and the Washington Post have been drooling over him for the last week, because unlike Joe Biden and unlike Trump, he could construct full sentences, and he's not, that we know of, lying every other breath. And by the way, I do send our well wishes, because Chris Cuomo of CNN tested positive. I'm not a big CNN person. I'm not a big Chris Cuomo person, but obviously I want him to get well. We all should. So this guy is a hero who should have quarantined New York State 2 weeks ago? This is the hero? Because by the way, as he chose not to quarantine New York State, he's also, at this very moment, they're failing to mention this, he's calling for $2.5 billion in Medicaid cuts. $2.5 billion with a B in Medicaid cuts, including $400 million in trims to hospitals based on a recommendation made months earlier, and he has not revived or altered this after the crisis. Cutting Medicaid would leave New York on the outside of $6.7 billion in federal aid. But Cuomo has responded to that not by standing down, but by saying, quote, "We can't do a budget without changes to Medicaid." Yeah, change Medicaid at the time when millions of New Yorkers, well, I shouldn't say millions, tens of thousands of New Yorkers are getting laid off, aren't going to have health care, and might need Medicaid. Let's cut $2.5 billion in Medicaid. Wow. What an amazing leader Andrew Cuomo is. Such an amazing leader because unlike Trump, he sounds coherent. Such an amazing leader because unlike Biden, he knows where he is when he speaks. The bar has been set so low that Andrew Cuomo is considered the new leader of the establishment Democratic Party, and now theories are going on that they might swap Biden out for him. By the way, as Dave Dayen in The Prospect points out, as recently as March 6, Cuomo was reassuring New Yorkers irresponsibly that, quote, "We have far more people in the hospital from the flu than COVID-19. He has also been reckless on not emptying the jails. Rikers Island right now is a literal health emergency. It is in the midst of an outbreak of coronavirus because Andrew Cuomo has refused to empty the jail. Over 300 inmates and staff are already infected. Upstate prisoners are making hand sanitizer for 65 cents an hour. However, so maybe they could pilfer some of that and hope for the best. He's basically leaving people in jail to die. What a leader. I mean, it's not just Andrew Cuomo, by the way. If you live in Florida, the Republican governor there has been absolutely reckless. A week ago, there were still people on South Beach, spring breaking. I don't know if they still are. There's governors, Democrats and Republicans, that have been completely reckless. And frankly, President Trump, the buck stops with the president. He should have called for a national lockdown. Italy did that, and as bad as it got in Italy, after 2 weeks of a lockdown, the numbers started going down. But because, oh no, we're capitalists, we can't shut down the economy for 2 weeks. They'd rather do this makeshift bullshit that we've been doing, where every state has a different system. One state has a shelter in place, another state has guidance, other states have, strongly recommend you stay in. Or not. Wasn't there people in Central Park like a week ago? I just showed you the image of people gathering to watch this boat come into New York Harbor. So as health officials in Washington, D.C. are working to, as they say, what are they saying? Something the curve? Flatten the curve. Because New York Governor Andrew Cuomo suddenly cares about the law and doesn't want to, that would be a federal declaration of war. I believe this is a war. And you know what? I'd rather a leader take leadership, even if a lot of people don't like it, because a lot of people wouldn't like a 2-week quarantine. By not doing that, over 1,500 people have died in New York. That's half of the death count in America. A lot more people are going to die. And because it's a novel coronavirus, we do not know everything about the coronavirus. Who the hell knows if it's going to come back? Anthony Fauci said it might come back during the fall. This is not a leader. This is someone who speaks well, who commands an audience during press conferences, who seems like he's on top of it, while behind the scenes he's cutting $2.5 billion in Medicaid. And oh, by the way, if that wasn't good enough for you, guess what else he's doing? Governor Cuomo is putting private equity vultures in charge of the coronavirus recovery in New York. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo announced at a press conference on Monday, March 23rd, that he was charging his former high-level aides, William Mulrow and Stephen M. Cohen, with rebuilding New York's economy in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak. Cuomo's former aides have deep ties to Wall Street. Mulrow is a senior advisory director at the private equity giant Blackstone Group, and Cohen is chief administrative officer of McAndrews and Forbes, the conglomerate owned by billionaire Cuomo donor Ronald Perelman. Mulrow's specific conflicts of interest raise grave concerns that New York's recovery efforts could abet Wall Street profiteering as the state's millions of working-class people suffer. In addition to his position at Blackstone, Mulrow holds lucrative board seats at a major gas and electric utility, a real estate developer, and a mining company, all of which creates tremendous conflicts of interest with a just recovery. Putting Wall Street insiders in charge of New York's economic recovery raises concerns that the state's response to the global economic collapse precipitated by the coronavirus pandemic will prioritize the profits of billionaire investors and further entrench New York's deep economic inequality. If you don't know, New York has the highest rate of income inequality in the nation, number one. And by the way, on a federal level, because let's not let the Republicans off the hook, guess who Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, is putting in charge of the coronavirus bailout? A Morgan Stanley executive. Yep. Let me find that for you. Puts former Morgan Stanley exec in charge. Hold on. Let me find it. You people are so patient with me. I love you. I tweeted it yesterday. Steve Mnuchin, Steve Mnuchin, Steve Mnuchin. What will be, will be. Oh, here we go. So, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Department is looking at creating new roles for some of its top officials as they work to rapidly implement the $2 trillion coronavirus stimulus law, according to three people familiar with the discussions. Steve Mnuchin played a central role in helping Congress write the law, and he has made multiple media appearances in recent days, pledging to swiftly put it into action. But a number of his top advisors are working behind the scenes to coordinate the rollout, and their roles could be formalized soon. The effort to split up tasks is particularly challenging because the Treasury Department had a number of key vacancies at senior levels, with Mnuchin preferring to lead a relative lean agency. During the financial crisis of 2008, the Treasury Department was largely fully staffed, and it has still brought in dozens of additional advisors. Treasury Deputy Secretary Justin Muzinich is under serious consideration to serve in a leading role, including helping oversee a nearly $500 billion program that will provide funding for businesses, cities, and state. Muzinich has worked in the past for Morgan Stanley, the EMS Capital Hedge Fund, and the investment firm Muzinich & Co. He briefly served as an advisor to Jeb Bush. So, Steve Mnuchin is putting a former Morgan Stanley executive in charge of the corporate slush fund. Corporate slush fund. What could go wrong for working class people? Thank you, Kilkenny B, $5. Ripley, you know Burke, I don't know which species is worse. You don't see them effing each other over for a GD percentage. I don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds lovely. Jonathan Silva, £2. Capitalism will always put profit over people. I agree. So, by the way, the next time your neoliberal auntie calls you or Zoom calls with you, since we can't all be next to each other, and tells you how wonderful Andrew Cuomo is, tell her he should have quarantined New York 2 weeks ago. He is responsible, not for all the deaths, but certainly some of the deaths that could have been avoided. He's cutting $2.5 billion in Medicaid during a national health pandemic. And overall, he's a sleazeball if you live in New York and you're a progressive. He's no friend of the progressive movement. He is no friend of the working person. All right, folks, that's it for today. I remind you, you can become a Status Coup member any time of the day, any time of the week. Statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month. We got 3 new members today. I hope we could keep on signing you up. We're 10 members away, getting us back. Right now we're at 1,840, so we'd love to hit another 10 members today so we can get back to 1,850, because that would put us 150 members away from 2,000. And boy, if we could hit 2,000 members before we get back on the road, we would be in really, really good shape. Thank you for watching. I will be live tomorrow. I do want to get into Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I want more time to do that. I also want to speak with a few more people. So I am going to get into AOC tomorrow. I know a lot of people are already calling her a sellout, a fraud, and all this. I'm going to get into my thoughts tomorrow. We will keep you up to date as far as the update on our story. We were told it was going to be published today, and then it wasn't. We're working with the outlet on trying to get it out like now. So we will make sure you know when it's going to be out. Thank you as always for watching. And remember, we do live in the United Corporations of America. However, most people are not lacking compassion in this country. Most people do not know the truth of what is going on all around them. That's why we need a status coup. Thank you for watching. Peace out.